Hey everyone, welcome back to Code with Poonam. If you're new here, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more coding tutorials. We are on day 12 of our 30-day pattern challenge. And today's pattern is all about printing a right angle triangle aligned to the right and also printing the numbers in a sequential way. So let's proceed with the challenge and we will move towards our VS Code. If we see here in the VS Code, the question is already mentioned along with the output, okay? So what is the question? We have to write a JavaScript function to print a following pattern. So we will come down and what we will do, we are going to take the important points of this question and we are just going to note it over here. So first of all, I will take this JavaScript function and I will put it over here. After that, what it has been said, we have to print this pattern, right? So we will just write here what? Print pattern. Okay. Now, if we see the output, what is this pattern all about? It is nothing but it's a right angle triangle. Okay. So that is what I will write it over here. So we have to print a right angle triangle, which is aligned towards the right. Okay. So that is what I will write it over here. And if we see here, the pattern is in a sequential manner. Okay. So we can just write here what? Sequential manner. Now, what is a sequential manner? If we see, we can see the output here. First, it is 1. After that, it is 1, 2. And after that, it is 1, 2, 3. After that, it is 1, 2, 3, 4. So, it is being printed in a sequential manner at each row. So, that is what we have to do it over here. Now, we will come here at our line number 7 and we are going to define our function name. Okay. So, we will keep our function name as what? Print pattern. Okay. So, that is what I am just going to write it over here with a parenthesis. So this will be our function name. Okay. Now we will come down and we are going to write our approach. So in order to achieve the particular output, or we can say in order to achieve this particular pattern, we are going to write the approach. Okay. So first of all, what we are going to do, we are going to create an str variable. Okay. Now, why this variable we are going to create? Because it is going to hold our final output. So I will just write it over here. It is going to hold our final output. Okay. And after that, what we will do, we are just going to declare it and we are going to initialize it with an empty quotes. Okay. So I will write here what? Str is equal to empty quotes. That means initializing with an empty string. Okay. And in this question, again, we are going to use what? Nested loops itself. Okay. So what is a nested loop? Now everyone knows what is a nested loop, right? Nested loop means there will be one loop and inside that there will be another loop. So loop inside and loop is called as what? Nested loop. Okay. So here in this question, again, we are just going to use a two loops. Okay. So I will write here what? Our outer loop and there will be what? Inner loop. Okay. Now what does this outer loop is going to do? It is going to control our what? It is going to control n number of rows. So how many rows you will be having? It will just control that. Okay. So I will write it over here like this. And what this inner loop is going to do? It is going to control our n number of columns. Okay. So I will just write here what? Calls. Okay. Now, this outer loop, I assume that it is our I loop. Okay. So I'm going to assume it that our outer loop will be our I loop and our inner loop will be what? It will be our J loop. Okay. That is what we are going to assume it over here. Now let us go here to the pattern. Okay. And we are just going to take this pattern and we will be putting it over here. Now, if we see here in this pattern, how many rows and columns are there? Let us analyze that. Okay. So I will just write here what? This is our first row. Okay. And this is our second row. Okay. And this is our third row. And this is our fourth row, right? So in this, we have total 4 rows and all the rows is going to be managed by which loop? By our I loop. Okay. So I will just write it over here what? Our I loop, here as well I loop. Okay. Now let us analyze how many columns we have. Okay. So I will just write here what? This is our first column. Okay, so let me just write here 1. After that, this is our second column. So I will write here 2. This is our third column. So I will write here 3. And this is our fourth column. So I will write here what? 4. So this is our 4 columns, and these columns are to be controlled by our J loop. Okay, so that is what I am just going to write it over here. Now, if we see here once again our pattern in this, so what is there in each row? If we see, there is some space and there is some value here. Okay, so that is what we are just going to make a note of it, how many values we have, how many spaces we have. Okay, so if we see here in the first row, we have here 3 spaces and 1 value. Okay, so let us write here what we have to print, what, how many spaces we have to print here. 3 spaces, and then we have to print how many values? 1 value. So that is what I will write it over here. Now in the second row, again, how many spaces we have? If we see, this is our first space, this is our second space, and then we have our 2 values. Okay, so I will write here what? Print 2 spaces. Okay, and then you have to print what? 2 values. So that is what I will just write it over here. After that, in the third row, how many spaces we have? Just 1 space, and we have here 3 values. Okay, so I will write here what? Print 1 space. Okay, and we will have to print how many values? We have to print here 3 values. Okay, so that is what I am just writing it here. Okay, and lastly, if we see here, we have here directly our 4 values. There is no spaces. Okay, so I will write here what? Print 0 spaces. Okay, and we have to print how many values here? We have to print here what? 4 values. Okay, now if we observe the printing value which has been there, what do we have? Here we have 1, here we have 1 and 2, here we have 1, 2, 3, here we have 1, 2, 3 and 4. So if we observe, it is not our J value, it is not our I value also. It is some sequential number. In each one, it is in an increasing order. Okay, so what are the values? It is there in a sequential manner. Okay, so I will just write it over here that each one, it is increasing and it is in a sequential way. Okay, so that is what we will have to print. Okay, now after that, what we are going to do, we are going to just analyze and see where we are going to start our both the loops and where we are going to end it. Okay, so we will write here what? Our I loop I am going to write here, and I will write here what? Our J loop. Okay, now here what will be our start and what will be our end? Let us see it over here, and we will put it over here as well. Okay, same I am going to do it for our J loop also. So if we see, our I loop is going to start at where? It is going to start at 1 and it is going to end at 4. So I will write here what? 4, and we will just assume as always n is equal to 4. Okay, and our J loop is also starting from 1 and it is going to end at where? 4. So here also I will write it 1 and here I will write 4, and we will assume what? N is equal to 4. Okay, now let us see what in our loop we are going to write. So we will write here what? I is equal to 1, I is less than or is equal to n, and I plus plus. Okay, now here let us see what we are going to write. J is equal to 1, J is less than or is equal to n, and here we are going to write J plus plus. Okay, now we know that inside our J loop, our printing is going to happen, right? So I will just write here what? Printing. Here the printing is not going to happen directly. It is going to happen how? It is going to happen conditionally. Okay, so I will just write here what? Conditionally, and in conditionally, we have to make sure that we are printing our spaces and we are printing our values. That is nothing but our numbers. Okay, so that is what we have to make sure. Okay, so we are going to write some condition. So what will be the condition and how we are going to write? Let us see. So we are going to write here condition inside our J loop. Okay, so we will be writing here if J is less than or is equal to n minus I. Okay, if this condition is true, then we will put here what? Space, okay? Because we want a spacing, okay? So that is what we are going to do, okay? And if this condition turns out to be false, okay? If it is true, we are going to add here what? Our spacing, okay? And if it is false, then what? So if it is false, then we will have to do certain calculation, okay? So what we will do, we are going to write here what? J minus of n minus of what? Our I. This is what we are going to calculate. So if it is true, directly put the spaces, and if it is false, we are going to just calculate this. Now I will show you what is this logic. So now we will see for an instance where one time it is true and where one time it is false, okay? So for the first iteration, I assume here when I is equal to 1 and our j is also 1. So that time what will happen? The conditions are going to be true and it is going to enter inside our loop. So what we will have? J is less than. That means 1 is less than or is equal to our n value is 4 minus of what it will be? It will be 1 because I value is also 1. So here what we are going to get now? Here we will get 1 less than or is equal to 3, okay? Now in this case what it will happen? 1 is less than or is equal to 3. Yes, 1 is less, right? So therefore this condition will be what? It is going to be true and we are going to put one space, okay? That is what we are going to do. Now let us see when it is false, okay? So I will write here what? I is equal to 1. In the first iteration only I am going to check because here we want to print one value, right? So we can see that 1, 2, 3 we have a spacing. So that is why I just calculated here for I is equal to 1 and j is equal to 1, okay? Now we can see that when j is equal to 4, we need to print some value, right? And at that time, I is 1. So that is what I am writing it over here. So I is equal to 1 and here I will write j is equal to 4, okay? So now let us just calculate this. So what we are going to write? 4 less than or is equal to 4 minus 1, okay? Now if we test this condition, this is going to be what? 4 less than or is equal to 3. Now, if you see here, 4 is not less than 3 nor it is equal to 3, okay? So, therefore, it will be false. Okay, now here we have to calculate this now. When it is false, we have to do this particular calculation. So, what is our j value? It is nothing but 4, okay? Then minus, what is our n value? It is 4, okay? Then what is our I value? It is nothing but what? 1. So it will be 4 minus of 3, okay? That is nothing but 1. So we are getting here what? 1. Similarly, we can get it for all of them which is there over here, okay? So this we will see when we are going to do our working, okay? So I have just shown you when I is equal to 1 and j is equal to 4, that time it is going to be false. And when I is equal to 1, j is equal to 1, it is going to be true and therefore we need a spacing. So that is what we have successfully done this, okay? Now let us come down and we will see inside our for loop structure how we are going to write it, okay? So we will be writing here what? First it will be our I loop. So I will write here what? Let I is equal to 1. I is less than or is equal to n and I plus plus. Then inside this we are going to put our j loop. So I will write here what? For and then let j is equal to 1, j less than or is equal to n and j plus plus. And inside this flower braces, now we have to conditionally print what? Our spaces and values. So this is what we have to print now. Now first we will write our logic for our spaces, okay? And then we will write for our values. So we will write here what? Our if condition, and inside this condition what we are going to write? J is less than or is equal to n minus I, right? And if this condition turns out to be true, then we will have to concatenate what? We will have to concatenate our space. So I will just write here what? Concatenate space To where? To our str variable. So we are going to write here what? Str plus is equal to space. Okay, that means we are going to write it like this. And if it is turns out to be false, then what we have to concatenate? We have to concatenate the value. Okay, so I will just write here what? We have to concat the value to our str variable. Okay, so that is what we have to do. Now let us come here and we are just going to write this. Okay, so what we will do? We will come here and we are going to write str plus is equal to, and here I will write what? J minus of n minus of our I. Okay, that is what I am going to write it. Now we know that once our J loop execution is done, we are going to take our cursor to the next line. So I will write here what? Str plus is equal to double quotes of backward slash of n. So this will take our cursor to the next line. Okay, so that is what we are going to do it. And once everything is done, then we are just going to print our str variable that is going to have our final output. Okay, so this we have done now. Now let us come down and we will start with our working. Okay, so since we have understood here how many rows we have, how many columns we have, what it is going to print, right? And here down we have also understood here what will be the start point, what will be the end point, and how conditionally it is going to print the spaces and values, right? And here we have understood the structure as well, correct, of our loop. Now we will come down and we will start writing our working. Okay, so I will just write here what? Working. And now we will go above and we are going to take this I is equal to 1, I is less than or is equal to n, and I plus plus. Okay, so let us take this and we are just going to put it over here. Now if we test the particular condition after substituting the values, let us see what we get. So here we are going to write what? 1, because I is equal to 1 and n is equal to 4. So if we test the condition 1 is less than 4, right? Therefore it is going to be what? It is going to be true, correct? Now since it is true, it is going to execute our J loop, right? So we will take this and now we are going to substitute the values here as well. Okay, so we will write here what? J is equal to 1 and n is equal to 4. Now if we test the condition, 1 is less than 4 or not? Yes, it is less. So this is going to be what? True. Okay, now since this is true, then what it is going to happen? It is going to execute our if condition as well, right? So we will take this and first of all I will come down and I will just write it over here. Okay, so I'll just put it over here like this. And now here we will substitute the values. So J is what? 1. So I will write here 1. N is what? 4. And what is our I? It is again what? Our 1, right? So now if we test the condition here, 1 is less than or is equal to 3, because 4 minus 1 is what? 3. So if we test the condition, this condition is true because 1 is less than 3. So since it is true, we have to put here what? Our space. Okay. After that, what it is going to happen? Our J value is again going to increase, right? So we are going to write here what? J is equal to 2. 2 less than or is equal to 4. Now if we check the condition, here it is going to be what? True, right? Now here we will have what? 2 is less than or is equal to 4 minus 1, because this is not going to change. So 2 less than 3. Now here again it is true, right? Because 2 is less than 3. So therefore we will have here what? One more spacing. Okay. After that, what will happen? Our J value is again going to increase. So we will have here what? J is equal to 3. 3 is less than or is equal to 4. Now again here the condition is true because 3 is less than 4, right? And therefore here we are going to test what? 3 is less than or is equal to 3. Now here 3 equals to 3, right? Therefore here again it will be true and we will have one more spacing. Okay. Now after that, what will happen? Our J value is again going to increase now. So let us come here and now let us test it here. So J is equal to 4. 4 is less than or is equal to 4. This condition is again true, right? Now therefore we will have here what? 4 is less than or is is equal to 3, it is not true. It is false because 4 is not less than 3. So now if you come above, if it is false, then what we have to do? We have to execute this part, right? So I will just write here what? If this is true, then you put here what? Spacing, okay, like this. And if it is false, then you please execute this part. So now we will come down and we are going to execute this because it is false, right? So what is our J value? It is nothing but 4. What is our N value? It is again 4. And what is our I value? It is 1. So if you check here, what we are going to get here? We will get here 4 minus of 3, right? And this is nothing but 1, right? So that is what we are going to get here as 1 in this case, okay? Now, after this, what will happen? J value is again going to increase, right? So we will have here what? J is equal to 5, correct? Now, 5 is less than or is equal to 4, it is going to be false, right? So, therefore, here our loop is going to terminate. So, I will just write what? It is going to terminate. Here, termination will happen. And inside our str variable, what it is going to concatenate? 3 times space and then 1 we will have here, okay? Now, if you just test it above in the first row, what we have? We are having 3 spaces and 1 time 1 getting printed, right? So that is what we have got it in our first time execution, okay? Now, after that, what will happen? Our I value is again going to increase, right? So I will just take this and we are just going to put it over here. Now, our I value will become what? 2. So here we will have 2 is less than or is equal to 4, correct? Now, since this condition is true, it is going to execute our J loop, okay? So I will take it from here and I will put it over here. So J is equal to 1 and 1 less than or is equal to 4. This is going to be true, right? Then we will come here and we will write here what? 1 less than or is equal to 4 minus, it has to be I. So I value is right now 2. So 4 minus 2 is what? 2. So if we see here, 1 is less than 2. Yes, it is true. So therefore, in this instance, we are going to get here what? We are going to get here space itself, right? After that, what it will happen? J value is going to increase. So it will become what? 2. So 2 is less than or is equal to 4. Again, it is true because 2 is less than 4, right? And here we will have what? We will have here 2 less than or is equal to 4 minus 2. This is not going to change because N value remains constant here. I value also remains constant. So 2 is less than or is equal to 2. 2 is not less, but it is equals to 2. Therefore, we will have here what? One more space getting added, okay? Now, after that, what will happen? Our J value is again going to increase now. So we will come here and we will write what? J is equal to 3. 3 is less than or is equal to 4. Now here again the condition is true because 3 is less than 4, right? Now since it is true, it will go inside our if condition, right? So we will have here what? 3 less than and 4 minus 2. Now if you test the condition, is it true or false? Because 3 is not less than 2. 3 is not is equal to 2, right? So therefore here we will have what? False. And since it is false, it is going to execute this particular line, right? So we will just write it over here and now let us substitute. So what is our J value? It is 3. What is our N value? 4. And right now what is our I value? It is nothing but 2. So what we will have here? We will have 3 minus 2, right? That is nothing but what? We are going to have here 1, right? So we will get here what? 1 here, okay? Now after that, what it is going to happen? Our J value is again going to increase. So we will write here what? J is equal to 4. 4 less than or is equal to 4. 4 is not less than 4, but it is equals to 4, right? Therefore, it will be what? True, right? And now it is going to execute our if condition. So we will have here what? 4 less than or is equal to 2, right? So 4 is not less than 2. 4 is not is equal to 2. Therefore, we will have here what? false, correct? And now after that, what it is going to be, we have to execute this, right? So here we have to just put here 4, because what, this is going to remain the same for this particular instant, and we will have here what, 4 minus 2. So we are going to get here what, 2, right? And after that, what we will have, it is going to increase our j value again. So we are going to write here what, j is equal to 5, right? Now 5 is less than or is equal to 4. It is not less, not is equal to 4, right? So we are just going to put here what, false. And since it is false, our inner loop, that is our j loop, is going to terminate. And in our str variable, what it is going to concatenate, 2 times spaces, and then we will have what, 1 and 2. So if you go above and check, we have the same here. We have 1 and 2 in our second row, okay, when I is equal to 2, okay. So after this, our I value is again going to increase. So it will become what, I is equal to 3, right? So we will just write here what, I is equal to 3, and 3 is less than or is equal to 4. Now if we test this particular condition, it is true, right? Because 3 is less than 4, correct? After that, what will happen? Since it is true, our j loop is going to execute, right? So I will just take it from here and we are just going to put it over here. Now we will have here what, j is equal to 1, 1 is less than or is equal to 4, and this condition is going to be true, right? And here we will have what, 1 less than or is equal to n minus I, right? So what is our I right now? It is nothing but 3, correct? So we will have here what, 1. Now if we test the condition, 1 is less than or is equal to 1, it is not less but it is equal to 1. Therefore this condition will be true, and we will have here what, 1 spacing, correct? Now after that, what will happen? Our j value is again going to increase, right? So we will have here what, j is equal to 2. 2 is less than or is equal to 4. Now 2 is less than 4, right? Therefore this condition is true, and now it is going to execute our if condition. So we will have here what, 2 less than or is equal to 1. Now if you see here, this condition turns out to be false, because 2 is not less, it is not equal to 1 also, right? So therefore it is going to be false. Now since it is false, it is going to execute what, this particular part, right? So I will just write it over here. So what is our j value? It is nothing but 2. What is our n value? It is nothing but what, 4. And what is our I value right now? It is nothing but 3, okay? So what we are going to get, 2 minus 4 minus 3 is what? We are going to get here what, 1. And if we check here, what we will get here, 1. So in the first instance, that means when j is equal to 2, in this case, we will get here what, 1, okay? After that, what will happen? Our j value is again going to increase. So we will write here what, j is equal to 3. 3 is less than or is equal to 4. Now if we test the condition, this is true, right? So we are going to write here what, 3 is less than or is equal to 1. Now again this condition is what, going to fail, because 3 is not less than 1. It is not equal to 1, right? So it is going to execute this. So right now, what is our j value? It is 3, and we will have here what, 3 minus 1, right? So therefore we are going to get here what, 2, okay? After that, what it is going to happen? J value is again going to increase. So j will become 4. So j is equal to 4. And here we will have what, 4 is less than or is equal to 4. Now this condition is going to be true, right? And then we will have here what, 4 less than or is equal to 1. Now again this condition is going to be turned out to be false, right? So therefore we will have to substitute here what, our j value, correct? So 4 minus 3, it will be correct. So here what we are going to get, here we will get what, 4 minus 1. So it will be nothing but what, 3, right? So that is what we are going to get in this particular instance, okay? After that, what will happen? Our j value is again going to increase. So j will become what? It is going to become 5. So I will write here what, 5. 5 is less than or is equal to 4. It is going to be what? False, correct? And therefore, our entire loop, our j loop, is going to terminate now. And inside our str variable, what it is going to hold? It is going to hold 1 space space and then 1, 2, 3. Okay. So now if you see in the third instance, when I is equal to 3, there is one space and we have 1, 2, 3. Okay. After this, what will happen? Our I value is going to increase, right? So we will write here what? I is equal to 4 and we are going to write what? 4 less than or is equal to 4. Now if we test this condition, 4 is not less than 4 but it is equal to 4. Therefore, it is going to be what? It will be true here, and since it is true, it is going to execute our J loop. Okay. So I will just write it over here. J is equal to 1. 1 is less than or is equal to 4 and it is going to be what? It is going to be true, right? And here we will have to execute what? This particular if condition, correct? So we will just substitute the values of our I, okay? Because others are same. And we will write here what? 0, okay? Because 4 minus 4 is what? 0. So 1 is less than or is equal to 0. 1 is not less. 1 is not equal to 0. So therefore, it will be here what? False. And since it is false, it is going to calculate this line, right? So I will just write it over here and let us substitute the value. So we will have here what? 1. And what will be our n value? 4. What will be our I value? It is nothing but 4, right? So we will have here what? 1 minus 0 we are going to have, right? And therefore it will be what? 1, right? After that, what will happen? It is going to increase our J value, right? So J will become 2. So let us write here 2. 2 is less than or is equal to 4. This condition is again true, right? And therefore it is going to execute our if condition. So 2 is less than or is equal to 0. It is not less. It is not equal to 0. Therefore it will be what? False, right? And here we are going to put what? 2 minus of 4 minus 4 because n and I value are going to remain same, right? N is 4, I is 4 for this particular iteration, right? So here we will have what? 2 minus 0 and we are going to get here what? 2, okay? After that, what will happen? Again, our J value is going to increase. So we will write here what? J is equal to 3. 3 is less than or is equal to 4. Now, if we test this condition, it is going to be what? True, right? And here we are going to test it with 3. So 3 is less than or is equal to 0. It is going to be false. And here we are going to put our J value. So 3 minus 0 will be what? Here we are going to get what? 3, okay? After that, what will happen? Again, our J value is going to increase. So we will write here what? J is equal to what? 4 and 4 less than or is equal to 4. Now, if you test this condition, it is true because 4 is not less, but it is equal to 4, right? And after that, what will happen? Our if condition is going to execute. So we will have here what? 4 is less than or is equal to 0. This condition is again false. And here we have to put our J value, that is nothing but our 4. So we will have here what? 4 minus 0, right? So 4 minus 0 is nothing but 4, correct? This is what we are going to get after our execution. So in this case, it is going to be false every time and it is going to execute this particular calculation again and again, okay? After that, what will happen? Our J value is again going to increase, right? So we will write here what? J is equal to 5 and then 5 less than or is equal to 4. Now we know that 5 is not less than 4. 5 is not is equal to 4. And therefore this condition is going to be failing here and it is going to terminate this particular J loop, okay? And inside our str variable, what it is going to concatenate? It is going to concatenate 1, 2, 3 and 4, okay? That is what we are going to get it here. Now, if we go above and if we just test it here, we will see that we have got the same thing when I is equal to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So we have got our entire thing in our execution. That means in our working part, right? Now, what will happen after that? Our I value is again going to increase, right? So I will take this and we are going to put here what? I is equal to 5, okay? And here we will have 5 is less than or is equal to 4. Now we know 5 is not less than 4 nor it is equal to 4. Therefore, here it is going to be failing this particular condition and here it is going to terminate our loop, okay? So this will be end of our loop, okay? And once it is going to terminate, we will just print our str variable to get our final output, okay? That is what we are going to do. Now, since we have done this, now let us do the same thing inside our function and let us see how do we get that, okay? So before that, what we will do, we will just open our terminal and we will open it to our right hand side. Okay. So we have here our terminal ready to our right side and we are just going to write our code here. Okay. That means our function. So we will write here what function and our function name will be what print pattern, and we will put here parenthesis, flower braces, and let us quickly invoke it. Okay. And here I will pass 4 as an argument. Okay. And now let us receive here n as in parameter and just console it out. So I will just do here what console.log of n. Okay. Now let us write here what node 12 pattern.js. And if we see, we are getting here what 4. That means whatever the value we are passing, it is able to access and it is able to print here. Okay. Now let us declare here our str variable. Str is equal to empty quotes. Okay. And after that, what we are going to do, our nested loop. So first I will write our I loop. So I is equal to 1, I is less than or is equal to n, and I plus plus. Okay. Flower braces, then our j loop. Okay. Now let j is equal to 1 and here j is less than or is equal to n and j plus plus. Okay. This is what we are going to write. Now let us just see the iteration. When I is equal to 1, 2 and 3 and 4, how many times our j loop is going to run? And we know that when I becomes 5, it is going to terminate. So let us see this everything in our terminal. Okay. So I will write here what console.log double quotes of I here hyphen and then comma, then I, and then double quotes of j hyphen and then comma and then j. Okay. Now let us run here what node 12 pattern.js, and if we see, when I is 1, j is running for the 4 times. When I is 2, j is running for the 4 time. When I is 3, j is running for the 4 time. When I is 4, j is running for the 4 times. So here we have seen the same thing, right? Everywhere we can see when j is 5, it is terminating. So every time j is running from 1 to 4, correct? And here I is equal to 5 also we cannot see because it is getting terminated at this point, right? So our working is matching with respect to this, right? Now let us come here and we are going to write our if condition because we have to concatenate spaces and the values, right? So I will write here what our if condition. So we are going to write j is less than or is equal to here n minus our I, right? And if this condition is true, we have to concatenate here what? We have to concatenate space, right? So we will write here what str plus is equal to double quotes and we are just going to put a space inside this. And if this turns out to be false, then we have to concatenate here what? We have to concat the value, correct? So we will write here what str plus is equal to, and we are going to write here what j minus of what? N minus of our I. That is what we have seen, correct? So this is what we are going to get. Now, we know that once our j loop is ending, what we have to do? We have to come here and we have to take our cursor to the next line. But before that, we will just see what we are getting in the terminal, okay? So we will come here and I will just console here what? Console.log of str let me do, and let us see what do we get now. So let us clear the terminal and we are going to write here what node 12 pattern.js. Now if we see, we are getting our sequence. That means our 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And also we are getting the spaces here, right? But it is in a single line. So where is our j loop ending? Our j loop is ending here, right? So once this is ending, we have to take our cursor to the next line. So I will write here what str plus is equal to double quotes of backward slash of n, right? And now let us see what do we get here. So we will write here what node 12 pattern.js, and if we hit enter, we are getting here the exact pattern. But if we see, we have here our spaces added, right? So for that we can use trim, right? But here directly trim we are not going to use it, otherwise it will remove the spaces from here as well. So for that I will use now trim end, okay? So let us use this trim end method and rerun it. So I will write here what node 12 pattern.js, and if we hit enter, we can see from the end only the spaces has been removed. Here the space remains as it is. So exact pattern we are getting. Let us come here and we are just going to comment this line, and let us clear the terminal and rerun our code. So I will write here what node 12 pattern.js, and if we see, we are getting here our exact pattern. So let us go above and let us test it. If we see here, it is the same pattern, we are getting it over here. Okay, now let us have a quick recap of this particular question. So we have to write a JavaScript function to print the following pattern, right? And this is the pattern, correct? Then we came down and what we did, we wrote the important part of this particular question, and also we defined our function name, right, as a print pattern. And by seeing the pattern, we understood that it is a right angle triangle aligned to the right, and the values are printed in a sequential way, right? So that is what we did. After that, we wrote our approach for this particular question. So we created an str variable, and that variable is going to hold our final output, right? And we came here and we declared here what let str is equal to empty quotes, right? That means we are initializing with an empty string. Then we wrote our nested loop, and we understood here that we need only two loops, that is our outer loop and inner loop. And our outer loop is going to control our n number of rows, and our inner loop is going to control our n number of columns, right? So that will be our I loop and j loop respectively, correct? Then we came down, we analyzed how many rows we have, how many columns we have, what are the values here getting printed, how many values are printing, how many spaces are printing, correct? We understood everything. Then we came down and we also understood what will be the start point, what will be the end point of that particular loop, right? And we also understood that we have to print spaces and the values. So we need here something conditionally we will have to do. So that is what we did here, and we just tested here for two instances, that where one will be false and one will be true, right? So that is what we did here. Then we wrote here our for loop structure, and inside that we wrote our if else condition, correct? So if it is true, then we have to concatenate here our spaces, and if it is false, then we have to print our value, right? So here we have to print a pattern, so we are going to concatenate the things, right? And once entire execution will be done, we are just going to print our final str variable, which is going to hold our final pattern. Then we understood the working, right? So working, we understood that every time our j loop is going to run from 1 to 4, correct? And when j is equal to 5, it is going to break, correct? And each of the cases, it is going to be the same. When we tested in our function, the working, it was the same, right? And we also understood that our I is going to run from 1 to 4, and when I becomes 5, it is going to end our loop and it will be terminated. And once it is terminated, then we are just going to print our str variable. Then we came down and we wrote our function as what print pattern, where we were passing n as in parameter, right? And we came here and we just consoled our n value, right? After that, we wrote here what let str is equal to empty quotes. That means we were initializing with an empty string, right? After that, we wrote our nested loop, right? And inside our nested loop, we consoled here how many times our j loop is going to run and how many times our I loop is going to run, right? And after that, we have written here if else statement. For that, it is going to concatenate a space if it is going to be true. And if it is false, it is going to concatenate the sequential numbers, right? That means the value, right? And once our j loop is terminated, we want our cursor to be taken to the next line. So therefore, we are concatenating backward slash of n to our str variable itself, right? And once our entire loop is terminated, we have to console our str. But here we are using trim end along with that, because we want to remove the additional spaces from the end, right? So that is what we have done here. And then lastly, we have invoked our function print pattern, where we were passing 4 as an argument, right? And our entire function was running on the basis of this 4 value, okay? Now we will come here in the terminal and we are going to run it one more time. So node 12 pattern.js, and if we hit enter, we are going to get our exact output. So this is what it was needed, and we have done the same, okay? So what I want want from you all guys is please try this particular question and also try experimenting with the different values of n and let me know your results in the comments. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more programming tutorials, and I will see you in the next one. So keep growing, keep learning and keep coding guys. Thank you so much.